Mueller, ordained minister and therapist and author of many books, a few books we have studied here at Bethany Christian Church, says this. Mueller says there are 4 questions that shape our lives. And those questions are on the screen. Who am I? What do I love? How shall I live knowing I will die? And what is my gift to the family of the earth? I think that all of us long to experience a sense of inner wholeness and guidance. It's in our DNA to live with purpose in life, with some meaning and a whole lot of grace. But the challenging thing is, how do we live up to the ideal that we set for ourselves and for others? Millions of people in the world every day struggle and work hard to fight low self-esteem and self-worth. It's brought on by perhaps the circumstances in their life. Maybe society or our culture tells them that they aren't good enough. Or maybe it's an economic structure like we have here in the United States or in other countries around the world that's designed to keep the rich wealthy and the poor impoverished. What is the good news for people who are in need, who are poor? What's the word of challenge for those of us who have most of what we need and want in life, a life of plenty? The parable of the talents that you heard in the Gospel is from Matthew, and it's a story about investments, wise investments and not so wise investments. It's also a story about worldviews. A worldview of abundance, where we have everything we need, and a worldview of scarcity, of just praying to get by day, but it's also a parable of faith, of belief that God is present and active in the world, and that we need not fear the world around us. I think that for many people, our life is driven by fear. Fear haunts us. Fear, because I think it's fear that deprives us from living up to what God has called us to be, our potential. I think it's fear that keeps us from embracing the stranger in our midst, be it the immigrant, be it the member of the LGBTQ community, be it the street person who doesn't look or smell or dress like us. Fear. Fear keeps us from dreaming dreams with God. Fear distracts the vision that we have of our community and our world and of ourselves. Fear keeps us from investing our lives in God because we are too fearful about our own lives and will we have enough? And so we invest them in our own self-interest and leave God on the sidelines. Fear keeps us from a true perception of ourselves that we truly have enough. And so we hoard our resources and bury them in the ground, like in the story of the third serpent. And remember, resources are not only the total package of who we are. The work of our hands, our wisdom, our knowledge, our creativity, our vision, our compassion, and the peace that we extend to others in God's name. So Jesus tells a story, and the story doesn't seem quite fair. If you're poor, the story isn't particularly good news. Or is it? There are 3 household servants who find themselves in a very unusual situation. Their master, a wealthy landowner, has left on an extended journey. And against all the rules and expectations of society, he entrusts unbelievable amounts of sums to his servants. One never did that. In Jesus' day, there were owners of large enterprises who often traveled a long distance in order to do business. And because they could only travel by ship or by carriage, they had to be gone for quite an extended length of time. No airplanes, no trains, no buses, no cars. And so carefully selected servants, trusted servants, managed the business affairs while the landowner was away in his absence. And it's these inner circles of trusted servants that the master in this parable entrusts huge sums of money. The master gives each servant a certain amount of talents. To one 5 talents, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent. In this parable, a talent is worth a sum of money. It was equal to about 15 years of average wages. An interesting side note to that is our word for talent. When we say we are talented or we're sharing the talents and resources of our lives, it probably comes from this specific parable. Each servant has a potential to invest, to earn interest, and to be in good standing then when the landowner and master comes back. The first 2 servants invested and received double their return. I guess the stock market was good. The third servant fears losing the talent if he invests it, so he digs a hole and he hides the master's money. That wasn't odd in Jesus' day at all. Burying money somewhere in the ground was perhaps the best way to guard against theft. The servant is fearful to risk. He hides the talent and he returns it in full, but undeveloped. And so when the master returns, the servant who plays it safe is found to be in rather hot water. He's cast out of the household, while the other servants who risked their talents were rewarded. To hear Jesus tell this parable, there's something to be said for risk, for not playing it safe. Jesus never played it safe. What do we do with this? What do we do with this story, this parable? We know that Matthew's parable was addressed to the situation in which Matthew's really early community in about 85 AD was waiting for the immediate return of Jesus. And it wasn't happening. Matthew writes 5 decades after Jesus has died. And one of the important questions that Matthew's church faced then was, we know Jesus is coming back. That's what everybody has said. Paul, Peter, Jesus, John the Baptist. When's it going to happen? It hasn't happened. It's been 50 years. It hasn't happened. The other question was perhaps, how do we invest our time while we wait for Jesus' return? Matthew answers that question of waiting and says, don't hide what God has blessed you with. Don't hide your treasures. Don't hide your identity as a follower of Jesus Christ, who practices the path and the way of Christ. Faithful living, church, isn't passive. It's an everyday command by Jesus Christ. We know what faithful living looks like, and so Matthew is saying, don't hesitate to live it. Don't bury it, don't hide it, live it. Live it every single day of your life. Don't bury too much goodness so that others can't see it. Don't bury your time committed to embracing the way of Christ and changing the world. Don't bury your love. Don't bury your treasures in the ground so no one will see them. Don't play it safe. Church, risk. Risk. Don't hide the light that is within you, that God has planted in you. Risk the fear that keeps that light hidden. Reveal it, show it, live it. Yeah, discipleship is risky business. And being saved is not what the church is built for. Never was. It never was. Disciples are called to take risks, and like Peter shows us, to step out of the boat into the water and to trust that Jesus will take care of this church. Jesus will not let us sink. And each of us needs to claim our identity and our purpose in God's creation. And as we live into God's new age that we are still waiting for, we are encouraged to see how we as individuals are shaping and changing that world. As we invest ourselves spiritually, emotionally, and physically in showing God's love with the world. Maybe I should just leave us with some questions. What are our fears? And how do we overcome them? What are we invested in this place and in this time? What is our mission? Where is our peace? We are feeding the hungry, and we are welcoming the stranger, and we are delighted in all the creative ways that we do that. But bring them in. How do we imagine ourselves and our church as a part of this evolving new age? Evolving and ushering in this age of peace and compassion, of gentleness and kindness. May God, who first took a risk in bringing us into this world, help us to venture forth into this world with faith. This morning we extend an invitation, as always, to those who worship with us. And if you would love to become a member of this community, then we invite you to come and be a part of our mission and of our purpose.